Welcome to helpyourmath.com. Today's video we're going to be finding the equation of the line passing through the points, which we have given right here. And we're also going to write the equation in slope-intercept form. And to do this we're going to use the points to get the slope using the slope equation. Right, where we have y2 take away y1 and x2 take away x1. We're also going to use the y equals mx plus b formula, which is actually the slope-intercept formula, right? Where the b is the value of the y-intercept y-coordinate and the m is the slope. And here we have the equation for the slope. So what we'll be doing is taking the 2 points and we'll start off by labeling them x1, y1, x2, y2. And then we're going to use one of the points with the solution of the slope to solve for our y-intercept coordinate. And then we're going to create the equation in slope-intercept form. So let's start by substituting our values in. Our y2 value here is -1. Our y1 value is +8. Now if you notice, I'm making my substitutions using parentheses, and this is because some values that we're substituting are negative, some are positive. The only way to keep track of what's happening with the difference of the 2 points is to use parentheses so that we can see the sign changes occur. Let's continue now. x2 is 1 and x1 is -2. And so as our numerator here, we have -1 minus 8 over 1 plus 2, because it's a double negative here. And the sign is going to change, right? So we have the keep change change rule, right? So it becomes 1 plus 2. And now the numerator here is -9, whereas our denominator here is +3. And when we divide -9 by 3, we have a -3. And we have our slope value. So m becomes -3. Now we can choose any of the 2 points we want to solve the second component of this. Now usually you can take any which one you want. I'm going to just take the left one, alright? And here we have -2 and 8. And even if we use 1 and -1, we'll get the same solution. So now here we consider this to be x and this to be y. And we have our m, we have an x, we have a y, and what we don't have is b, and we're going to solve for it. So let's substitute all our values in. We have 8 equals -3 times the x value of -2 plus the b value. And here what we're looking for is to solve the b value, because we've already found m, and when we have b, we can easily write this in slope-intercept form. And now we have here 8 equals negative by negative is positive, 3 by 2 is 6, plus b. And now what we want to do is isolate our b term. So we're going to subtract 6 to both sides so we could get this b alone. These cancel. We have a 2. And that's the value of b. So now going back to the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, we're going to substitute our value for m, which is -3, and our value for b, which is a +2. Now be careful here, because since it's a +2, the sign won't change. So we're just going to have a +2 here. But if it were -2 for b, this would say -2. In this case, it's a positive, it stays positive. Alright? Now let's continue to the next problem for number 2 here. And I'm going to just wipe off everything from the equation of the slope so that we could continue to make the second slope using the next set of points here. And my first coordinate here is going to be x1, y1. Here we have x2, y2. One of the biggest questions I hear often when I'm helping people with this kind of work is, does it matter which set of points I make x1, y1, and x2, y2? And the truth is no. You can set them up however you want, so long as they're paired accordingly. And by accordingly, I mean, if you choose one coordinate of x and y, the sub number here has to be the same. So if I choose these to be 2's, they both have to be 2's. I can't make this 1 while the second one is here. They both have to be paired together. So x1 is with y1, x2 is with y2. Everything from there works the same. So let's solve the second slope here. Our y2 value, -2 in parentheses. Our y1 value is 0 over our x1 value is x2 value is 1. Our x1 value is -3. So let's simplify this and see what we get. So we have -2, take away 0 over 1. A negative again gives us a +3. And now we're going to simplify. The top gives us -2. The bottom gives us a 4. And -2 over 4 is negative 1/2 when simplified. So there we have our second slope. And we have the slope being m equals negative 1/2. And again, we're going to choose one of the 2 points. In this case, we'll just take the first again because it's the easiest way to work this out. So here we're going to have, well, not the easiest, but in all cases, just using the first point usually works because this way you don't have to confuse yourself between the 2. The fact that they're both going to give you the same answer means you're safe picking whichever one you want. Sometimes we try to use a multiple of the denominator if we have a fraction, but in this case, a 3 is odd and a 1 is odd, and the 2 is not going to reduce either of these the same. So we're just avoiding work instead of making our life easier by just doing the problem. Let's write the slope-intercept formula. We have y equals mx plus b. And again, here's our x, here's our y. We're going to swap them in. The y is 0. Good number to use. Equals negative 1/2 times the x of negative 3 plus b. And now what we want to do again is isolate our b term. So here we have 0 equals, negative by negative is positive. This is 3 over 1. So negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Over 2 times 1 is 2 plus b. And now we want to solve for the b term here. So we're getting rid of the 3/2 by subtracting it to both sides. These are going to cancel out. We have negative 3/2 are equivalent to b. And again, we're going to write the the slope-intercept formula. Y equals mx plus b. And this time we do have a negative b. Remember our m value was negative 1/2. That goes in for m. So we have y equals negative 1/2 x. And our b, since it's negative, when we substitute it in, we're going to have plus a negative 3/2. And this becomes negative 1/2 x minus 3/2. And that's our second equation, right? Moving on to the third. Let's erase what we have here for the slope equation and start over from scratch. Let's get the slope first, then use one of the points to get our equation of the slope-intercept form. So here we have our x1, y1, x2, y2. Now, what we have for y2 is a negative 3 minus our y1 is negative 9 over our x2 is negative 1 minus our x1 is positive 2. Now we're going to simplify this as much as possible. So negative 3, negative 9 becomes positive 9 over negative 1 minus 2. And our numerator here becomes a positive 6. 9 and 3 are different signs. So 9 take away 3 is 6. Keep the sign of the larger. It's positive 6. Negative stays negative. And 1 and 2 make 3. 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. We have our slope value. Now let's create our slope-intercept form, right? So our m is negative 2. And this time, instead of using the point on the left, I'm going to go ahead and use the point on the right to show you guys. It doesn't matter which point we use. We get the same kind of solution. Even though you won't see the solution at home, if you want, try using the first point and see if you get the same solution that I'm getting using the second point. That's a good way to test if you're doing this correctly, right? And so my coordinate is negative 1 and negative 3. Here's my x, here's my y. I have y equals mx plus b. Let's solve our b value first, right? By substituting x, y, and m. My y is negative 3. My m is negative 2. My x is negative 1. And my b is just my b, my y-intercept. So let's solve then. I have minus 3 on the left. Negative 2 by negative 1 is positive 2 plus our b. Now let's solve for that b by subtracting 2 to both sides. So we can isolate that term. We have the b alone now on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, 2 negatives add up to another negative, and we add the numbers to a 5. So our b term here is negative 5. And just like the previous one, if you have a negative b term, you could just change the symbol from plus to a minus, because a plus and a minus make a minus anyway. And so when we do y equals mx plus b, our m is negative 2, and our b is negative 5. And there's our equation in slope-intercept form. Thank you.